United Way. Help us, help others.
The big uneasy. The city of New Orleans battens down from the onslaught of Hurricane George. Floating casinos, betting the house they'll survive the hurricane's wrath, and tracking the storm. A hurricane so huge, it's engulfing the Gulf.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening from New Orleans, Louisiana. The wind is up tonight, the water is rising, and the sky is ugly, and the rains came, as perhaps you can see. Any way you cut it, the Big Easy is in for a hard time. Whether New Orleans takes a direct hit from the full force of this hurricane or not, it is in for trouble. At the moment, Biloxi, Mississippi may catch it worse, that area. More about that in a moment. But clearly understand that this is the worst hurricane threat for New Orleans and the Mississippi Delta in about 30 years. And keep in mind also that most of this historic city, New Orleans, is below sea level. Now, there are hurricane warnings and mandatory evacuations along 300 miles of the Gulf Coast, and a hurricane watch as far west of Morgan City, Louisiana, as into parts of Texas. George has winds of 110 miles an hour, making it a Category 2 hurricane at the moment, but it could become a Category 3, meaning winds up to 130 miles an hour. Winds have already built a crushing, deadly storm surge, what used to be called a tidal wave of ocean water, especially dangerous at high tide. Now, Brian Norcos is at our CBS News Hurricane Center in Miami, and this expert is now going to tell us where this hurricane is headed and what to look out for. Brian?
All right, Dan, the only sort of silver lining in an otherwise horrendous situation here is it looks like this storm is going to go just to your east. Now, take a look at the radar here coming out of the New Orleans radar, and if you track that line there, it looks like it's going to go somewhere just east of New Orleans. Now, the good news about that is it's going to put a little bit less water up there into Lake Pontchartrain, and that's the way that the city of New Orleans floods. But there's still this incredible, incessant flow pushing the Gulf all up along this Gulf Coast here, some spots up to 17 feet high over the land, waves on top of that, and possibly up to 2.5, maybe 3 feet of rain with this, an incredibly slow-moving, wet hurricane being all that water pushed by winds, as you say, 110, possibly 115 miles per hour. We think this is going to be a hurricane that everyone will be talking about possibly forever for that part of the country. Dan?
Thanks, Brian Norcos, underscoring that water, more than the wind, is the big danger. Now, repeating, whether New Orleans takes the direct hit from the full force or not, it's in for a lot of water. And what's been happening here in New Orleans in the way of people preparing for this hurricane is typical of what's happening all along this Gulf Coast crescent. And CBS News correspondent John Roberts has been tracking what people are doing, why, and how. John?
Dan, it's been a day of anxious anticipation in New Orleans. The most profound memory that people have of a hurricane here is when Betsy killed 75 people back in 1965. They know what George did in the Caribbean, and they're worried.
The escape routes out of New Orleans were packed this morning, bumper-to-bumper traffic all the way to Baton Rouge as people headed for higher ground before police closed the highways.
We got the last one.
Those who stayed behind waited in long lines for staples that were in short supply.
We know the electricity is going to be going out soon, so we got to be prepared. And this is our last resort.
And they watched as the winds gained strength, a mere hint of what will come later.
As with most hurricanes, the biggest threat from George lies not so much in its winds, but in the water that the winds are driving. New Orleans' levee system is designed to handle a fast-moving Category 3 storm. If George slows down and the storm surge tops 15 feet, New Orleans will be flooded.
So people wasted no time making it to shelters.
It's frightening. It's really frightening.
And when they filled up, the Louisiana Superdome was turned into an 80,000-seat haven from the storm. This woman remembers when Hurricane Betsy hit New Orleans 33 years ago.
When Betsy came through, did you ride it out at home?
At home.
And you didn't want to do that this time?
No, definitely not. No.
one of the last church services before the hurricane hit, Bishop Paul Morton gave his congregation the strength to ride it out.
I don't want George to get the victory. I want God to get the victory because he's still in charge.
There's a sense here that people just want to get this over with, one way or the other. And with George wobbling off of the Mississippi Delta, it's only adding to the anxiety here. Dan?
Thanks, John. As John and Brian Norcos mentioned, it's the storm surge, this sea surge, that's the greatest potential danger. That's a wind-caused mountain of ocean that can flatten everything in its path.
The sea surge from Hurricane George and the flooding it caused have already claimed hundreds of lives in the Caribbean. And with the combination of heavy rain, slow movement across the Gulf, and worse still, a rising tide, parts of the Louisiana and Mississippi coasts are bracing for a possible 10 to 15-foot wall of water. Such a storm surge occurs when high winds scoop the ocean water into a mound near the eye of the hurricane. As this mound is pushed forward, it becomes squeezed against the rising slope of the ocean floor. Then it is forced upward by the high winds, and bam, this wall of water, what used to be called a tidal wave, smashes into the coast. And often, that's when the majority of hurricane damage occurs. The storm surge this time is expected to hit somewhere along the Mississippi Basin between midnight tonight and sunrise Monday, when the eye of the hurricane makes land.
No matter where George makes its direct hit, the effects of the storm will be felt along a broad area of this Gulf Coast. CBS News correspondents are in position all around the Crescent. We go first to Jim Axelrod in endangered Biloxi, Mississippi. That's about 100 miles east of here. Jim?
Dan, that threat of storm surge you're emphasizing is a major concern here in Biloxi, a place where the entire economy depends on a dozen or so floating casinos, like the one you see over my shoulder. That's not a ship, that's a casino. And the worry here in Biloxi tonight is, how will these casinos survive George? On Sundays in September, US 90 in Biloxi is usually full of traffic, and the casinos full of gamblers. Tonight, George has chased everyone away.
We're prepared, I think, as we can get.
Bernie Burkholder runs the big ship, Treasure Bay it's called. It's a barge, actually, with a mooring system that's supposed to be good, even in 140-mile-an-hour winds. Problem is, they haven't had a hurricane since the casino's been built. It's all theory.
This is all theory.
This has never been tested.
This has never been tested, so it is going to get tested today.
The same question is being asked everywhere in Biloxi tonight. Can the floating barges make it? Casinos provide 15,000 jobs here, jobs that right now depend on George's path and some thick chains. This gives you complete confidence?
As much confidence as you can get when looking at a storm like this, yes.
The storm is massive. Its reach is extensive. As frightened as people are 80 to 100 miles west of here in Louisiana, they're just as fearful 50 miles east of here in Alabama. That's where CBS News correspondent Byron Pitts is tonight. Good evening, Byron.
Jim, here along the bay in Mobile, Alabama, most people have abided by the mandatory evacuation order and moved north. Most people, but not all.
Did you park the car in a safe place?
Yes.
Okay. How about your truck?
If Corrine Willis sounds like the worried wife, she's not.
And I'm kind of hard-headed.
It's Jim who's nervous.
He's why I'm staying. I'd have left a long time ago.
They will ride out George, even though police have shut off roads and most of their neighbors have left.
We videoed everything in the house for the insurance, TV, antiques, all that. We've got all that on video.
You guys are pros, huh?
Oh, yeah. You got to be nowadays.
Corrine says she's lived through major hurricanes in Alabama and Texas. Hurricane Carla in 1961, she admits, scared her. But now living near Mobile Bay, she's more philosophical than panicked.
2 blocks from your house is the bay, Mobile Bay.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit here anyway.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. But, I mean, I've ran from one storm, and we ran into tornadoes. Man killed sitting right beside me. So, if God wants you, you're going to go.
Now, the Willises will celebrate their wedding anniversary tomorrow. Well, forecast is calling for stronger hurricane force winds, plus an 8 to 10 foot storm surge here by morning. A quiet anniversary, it won't be. Dan?
Thanks, Myron Pitts. Now, that's it for just now from the Gulf Coast and from here in New Orleans. But we'll have more about this very large hurricane later in the broadcast. Right now, let's go to New York and Peter Van Sant for some of the rest of the day's news.
Thanks, Dan. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Republican leaders say there'll be no deal to avoid impeachment. A scare for Attorney General Reno. A fainting spell sends her to the hospital. Germans vote Chancellor Helmut Kohl out of office. And the home run derby. Mark McGwire ends the season with an even 70.
Chevy Tahoe with a Vortec engine. The most powerful SUV anywhere.
Some things can't be taught in a classroom or found in a textbook. But with Fixitant's long-lasting hold, you'll be ready no matter where the lesson takes you. For long-lasting hold, Fixidant and forget it.
Fibercon or Metamucil, both have fiber for regularity. But I like Fibercon better.
Same natural action of fiber, but only Fibercon contains calcium.
And with Fibercon, I get my fiber in 2 caplets.
Fibercon, fiber and calcium in a convenient caplet.
We can show you people who believe every day is a gift. These same people believe that the level of commitment they've received from their healthcare company helped make that gift possible. We're Aetna U.S. Healthcare, raising the quality of healthcare in America.
The Washington Post quotes President Clinton as saying he's paid a big price for his relationship with Monica Lewinsky. But in the president's words, wallowing in regret is a cop-out. As Mr. Clinton ends a cross-country trip, the Capitol is still debating impeachment. Cheryl Atkinson has more on the White House under fire.
A stop in San Antonio wraps up the president's intense fundraising swing in the West, where his mood seemed buoyed by high public approval numbers. And with polls also showing Americans are burned out by the Lewinsky scandal.
I think outside the Beltway, people want this thing to be over. I think they've had enough of it.
Democrats are pushing Republicans to speed things up.
And with 70% of the American people wanting this matter closed, many Republican leaders in the Senate who now talk bravely about removing the president from office, upon reflection, I think, will want to have an exit from this problem.
But if an exit means a deal to avoid impeachment proceedings, Republicans say don't bank on it, at least not until the House has its say.
Well, I think the president would be well served to fire his pollsters and fire his lawyers and just face the American people and face this process. Because the House is not reading polls, we're reading the Constitution. And we will carry out our duty.
October 5th, the House Judiciary Committee is expected to recommend a formal inquiry of impeachment. The full House would vote October 9th. Impeachment hearings would likely wait until after the November 3rd elections. But first up later this week is the release of 60,000 new pages from Ken Starr's investigation and hours of Linda Tripp phone recordings. All of this means for an American public grown weary of the scandal, it's far from over. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, the White House.
Attorney General Janet Reno is in good condition tonight at a Washington hospital. Reno fainted during a Maryland church service this morning. Her doctor says he's not sure what was wrong, but says Reno is in good spirits. She'll spend the night at the hospital for observation. Reno had a similar fainting spell in Mexico last November. The winds of change have swept through Germany. Voters today elected a new chancellor, Gerhard Schroeder, to replace Helmut Kohl. Kohl, who has served longer than any other Western leader and presided over German reunification, conceded defeat and said he would step down as leader of his party. The new chancellor says he will not abruptly change German policy. Just ahead on the CBS Evening News, this old crumbling house, how realtors abuse a program meant to help the poor. And more on Hurricane George, the killer storm's toll in the Dominican Republic.
Want to color your gray beard or mustache and look natural? Get Just for Men Gel.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
Brush in and in 5 minutes, gray is gone.
No one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
Has frequent heartburn been a persistent problem for you? Have you treated it but still suffer on 2 or more days a week? Do you keep getting heartburn even though you've changed your diet? Your heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease. Ask your doctor about Prilosec. 1 capsule daily can provide complete 24-hour heartburn relief because it controls acid for 24 hours. 24 hours. Ask your doctor if Prilosec is right for you. Call to learn more. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. Want 24-hour heartburn relief with 1 daily dose? Ask your doctor about the most prescribed acid control medicine in America, Prilosec.
Hey, you want a green light to eat like never before? I do. Healthy Choice has a whole menu of unbelievably delicious dishes, incredible meals. New chicken stir fry with a crispy fried egg roll. Big hearty handful stuffed end to end with gooey cheese. My favorite, shrimp and vegetables with bow tie pasta and a creamy basil garlic sauce. All around 5 grams of fat. 5. There's no stopping me now. Healthy Choice. Your green light to eat what you like.
What possessed this young man to turn his back and say nothing when he saw his best friend assaulting a little girl, who his friend minutes later raped and murdered? Let him tell you tonight on 60 Minutes.
Baby-proof your home. Protect your little ones from danger. We'll help you find all the hidden trouble spots before they do. This is life-saving information, plus your latest weather.
This week on This Morning.
It's a program designed to help poor Americans buy their own homes, and each year nearly 800,000 people sign up for government-backed mortgages. But some real estate professionals have figured out ways to beat the system. That's tonight's Sunday cover, cheating home buyers and bilking taxpayers for billions.
The electric, the plumbing, the roofing, the porch, and then also I had to buy 3 new doors.
Dorothy Bobb bought this house 2 years ago in Buffalo, New York, with a loan backed by the Federal Housing Administration. She moved out of the projects into her piece of the American dream, but that dream quickly faded.
I had to put in another toilet because the one that originally was here, it wouldn't flush.
Dorothy says she was misled, never told that her house was a wreck. She trusted her realtor and his housing appraiser when they said the house needed only some work. Now she hasn't heard from anyone in months, and she's stuck with repairs she can't afford.
You're looking for the weakest, most vulnerable people and ripping them off is what you're doing. And the government is not supposed to do that.
Last year, Dorothy's real estate agency was suspended from doing FHA business. But Buffalo lawmakers say much harsher penalties are needed to deter corrupt agencies from using FHA-backed mortgages to unload money pits in poor neighborhoods, then pocket the commission and abandon people like Dorothy.
That's completely deteriorated away.
In fact, the problem reaches far beyond Buffalo, and the costs are staggering. Last year, the foreclosure rate for FHA homes nationwide suddenly soared. Nearly 11,000 people lost their homes. And because those mortgages are backed by the government, it's the taxpayers who have had to pay the $5 billion bill. Last summer, housing activists took their complaints directly to Housing Secretary Andrew Cuomo's front lawn. Their message? Too many people are losing their homes. They warned foreclosures will continue to skyrocket unless the government cracks down on the dishonest appraisers and lenders.
We are taking very strong actions against any bad player in a loan that ultimately ends up hurting the home buyer as well as hurting the taxpayer.
HUD has taken action. A new federal law now requires appraisers to spell out all possible problems in the home for the customer. Those who don't face serious punishment. To enforce this, HUD is creating a nationwide database to track the loan process.
What's important here is that the borrower know what he or she is getting into. It's their money. It's their credit record. They need to know what the problems are, so then they can make an informed judgment about whether or not to purchase the home.
But for Dorothy Bobb, it's too late. She didn't have anyone to help her make an informed judgment. Now she's barely hanging on, living off her credit cards and hoping her roof won't fall in on her head. She says if she had it to do all over again, she'd hire her own lawyer to make sure the house was properly appraised and inspected.
Now I'm stuck here. I can't move and I can't sell it, so I just have to deal with it.
One housing activist told us she's skeptical of HUD's commitment to change, but the agency insists it is on the right track and has suspended more than 30 appraisers in the past few months.
Is there a store between here and the Canadian border we haven't been to? Honey, I'm beat. I'm starving.
Here's something good for you.
Ensure bars?
Complete balanced nutrition. To go.
Ensure bars with protein, 24 vitamins and minerals, including calcium, vitamin D, iron, zinc, antioxidants, C and E, a source of complete balanced nutrition.
Delicious. What's next?
The Canadian border.
I'm ready.
Ensure bars to your health.
Trains now go 300 miles an hour. Mail, 3,000 miles a second. Athletes continually break records. So how come pain relief isn't faster? Introducing Advil Liquid Gels, the first and only pain reliever in a faster-acting liquid-filled capsule that's gentle on your stomach. On tough pain, Advil Liquid Gels are stronger and faster than extra-strength Tylenol. Headaches to muscle aches. New Advil Liquid Gels. Advanced medicine for pain. Just got faster.
For 97 years, GMC has designed trucks for people who drove them not because they were trendy, but because their lives depended on them. Heroes who measured a truck by its power and its determination. That heritage lives in the new Yukon Denali. A luxury SUV with a 255 horsepower V8. It meets the demands of professionals and the standards of history. The Yukon Denali by GMC.
What do I want? I want to know I'm headed in the right direction. I want to keep my options open. I do want to take care of my family. I want to give something back. I want to learn, find what's right for me, be ready for anything, make the right choices. I want to find the people who can get me there.
American Express Financial Advisors can help you decide what you want to do and how to get there.
I want to say I made a difference. I want to do more.
President Clinton called Mark McGwire with his congratulations today after Big Mac finished out his season by hitting home runs number 69 and 70. As Bob McNamara tells us, McGwire's won a place in the hearts of fans all over.
On the day before his vacation, Mark McGwire wanted no distractions, no autographs, no batting practice.
They come to their feet as they always do.
And leading Sammy Sosa in the great race by 2 home runs at game time, McGwire's at-bats seemed almost automatic.
Swing and a long one. Goodbye. 69 home runs. The man is magnificent. Unbelievable. 69 home runs. He is unbelievable.
He has taken almost as many curtain calls as Pavarotti this season.
He takes another bow.
But McGwire saved his best for his last at-bat.
Swing and get up, baby. Get up, get up, get up. Home run. He's done it again. 70 home runs. Take a ride on that for history. They'll be shooting at that one for years and years.
For McGwire's partner in the slugfest race, Sammy Sosa now appears destined for second place.
How can you end a season better than Big Mac has just done?
He is the man for all season long. Bob McNamara, CBS News, St. Louis.
Amazing. Sammy Sosa didn't homer today and remains 4 behind McGwire, but he could add to his total tomorrow when his Chicago Cubs battle the San Francisco Giants for the National League wild card spot. That's it from New York. In a minute, we'll go back to Dan Rather in New Orleans for the latest on Hurricane George.
We decided to get a PC.
We?
He was worried about the cost. Now he just worries about his swing.
When you call 1-800-GATEWAY, they'll set you up with your wear, an affordable new way to own the latest technology. For just $59.95 a month, we can custom build you a PC with an Intel Pentium 2 processor, color printer, DVD drive, and internet access.
Let's email the kids our scores.
Call us and let's talk about your wear from Gateway.
You know, the last I looked, the average workday lasts more than a few hours, right?
Right.
But average pain relievers may work for a few hours, then quit. Well, now there's Aleve. Aleve's the one with the strength to work on arthritis pain all day long with just 2 pills. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that. So, if your pain reliever isn't putting in a full day's work,
Fire it.
fire it and take Aleve. 2 pills, all day relief. Works for me.
Little sister, I admit it. I was snooping in your medicine cabinet last night.
Any surprises?
You switched to X-Lax.
Yeah, Correctol works with an artificial chemical. X-Lax works with natural senna.
Very effectively, too.
You tried it.
Today's gentle X-Lax is the only laxative with the X-Lax Morning Guarantee. 2 out of 3 users agree. It's dependable overnight.
X-Lax, what a find.
What a snoop.
Today's X-Lax, good morning, guaranteed.
Every story is a local story. An economic change in Asia or a medical discovery in Europe could change your life forever. Finding the connections takes experience. Making them clear is what we do, because our job is to make sure that every story hits home.
The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. Experience you can trust.
Back again here in New Orleans, where the first faint edges of Hurricane George are beginning to come in, and America's Gulf Coast braces for this storm. The people of the Caribbean, who were badly battered by this hurricane last week, are still in the process of digging out. Hit hardest of all was the Dominican Republic. Death toll may ultimately reach 500. CBS News correspondent Randall Pinkston is in the Dominican capital.
These are the lucky ones, survivors of the worst hurricane to hit the Dominican Republic in 20 years. These storm victims have shelter and food. But across this poverty-stricken nation, thousands are still waiting for help, waiting for floodwaters to recede.
Disasters are always hardest on the poor. This is a low-income neighborhood of Santo Domingo, still waiting on some kind of assistance. And outside the capital, the situation is even worse.
Some communities have been cut off since Tuesday. Roads and bridges are blocked. No power or phones, little water and food. The U.S. is joining other governments in bringing in supplies and helicopters to deliver them.
These are bridges that we know and have identified as being out and non-usable.
So you can't deliver anything?
Not by truck. Air's your only option.
The official death toll is just over 200, but everyone expects it to go much higher because scores of victims buried in tombs of mud have not yet been found. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Santo Domingo.
Now, for those waiting out the hurricane on the American Gulf Coast now, it's basically a waiting game. For 300 miles along this coast, warnings are posted for this very strong Category 2 hurricane with its winds of 110 miles an hour and great danger from the water. This is a huge system, packing hurricane and tropical storm force winds across a diameter of almost 400 miles with the potential to cause immense danger. That's part of our world tonight. Stay with this CBS station for hurricane coverage. We'll be with it through the night, into the morning, and have a full wrap-up tomorrow night on the CBS Evening News. Don't forget, 60 Minutes is coming up here on Sunday night on this CBS station. For now, Dan Rather, CBS News, reporting from New Orleans. Good night.
CBS.com for news 24 hours a day. Experience CBS News. CBS, welcome home.
I'm Barry Alexander. Family is what Harpeth Ford Mercury is all about. We've been Franklin and Middle Tennessee's choice for almost 40 years. Franklin's grown, and so has a Harpeth family of satisfied customers. You've told us what's important: knowledgeable, helpful people. Lots of Ford cars and trucks to choose from at competitive prices, backed up with service you can count on. With so many choices, shop around and visit us last. And let us show you why our family has put more Ford cars and trucks on the road than any other hometown dealer.